I wanted to ask you, Zach, like, so any like hiring manager I talk to in like the security world, they bring up one word, man. I bet you could almost guess what it is, but it's curiosity, right? Every dang hiring manager in security is like, how curious are they? And I'm like, is there a curious test out here?
Is there a meter?
Like, yeah.
Good, man. It feels good, right? Yo, I'm in the light at the end of the tunnel. Paper stacks, yeah, I got them in the bundles. Harry Potter breaking bread with the muggles. They said I would have made it, now they looking puzzled. They said I would've
All right, Ty, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Zach, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, Ty. Timeout, Tyler. Who are we taking the timeout with today?
Kev, always good to see you, man. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest with us this morning. We have Zach Lewis, the CISO and the CIO of the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in baseball-loving town, St. Louis. Zach, thanks for being on the show. I just wanted to ask you real quick, man. Who do you think the most famous Zach is to ever live?
Most famous Zach ever to live. Whew. I mean, we had a president named Zach Taylor. 12th president. Yeah. He did some things. I don't know how famous he was, but, that's pretty good.
I think Zach Taylor I always think about the most famous Tyler is the only reason I said that to you. And I still don't, mine's not a good one. Trust me. I won't even bring it up. But what, okay. So Zach Taylor, president, that's what we're rolling with.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Okay. I was thinking Zach from Saved by the Bell or
Saved by the Bell, he's the one. You got Zac Efron. I mean, he's pretty big.
Zac Efron was the other one.
Soon to be all displaced by Zach Lewis, right? I think.
Yeah,
yeah, there we go. That's
100%,
why you're on timeout with leaders this morning, man.
We're going to do it right now.
Hit him. Zach, so I know you and Tyler took a trip at CISO Ascent, and it sounded like an awesome time. You also took a night hike. So if I was to tune in, all right, you have your earbuds in, what song might Tyler and I catch you humming or singing out loud?
Well, I mean, my hype song, I think, is Stranglehold by Ted Nugent. Man, that opening riff, that's where it's at.
Stranglehold by Nugent. Man, and Zach, tell us about that night hike, man. Have you ever done a night hike? Or I know you're an outdoors guy. You want your kids outdoors. You told me the whole thing. I couldn't agree more, man. I want my daughter playing in the mud and the lake and the trees. But what was the night hike like, dude?
Night hike was good. Not my first night hike, but Bryce is a big hiker. I wanted to hike, and the weather had been great. We were seeing cool stuff. Like, we're here to hike. Let's get some more action done. So we rolled back out there and found a trail through the woods and took it. Did maybe 3 miles again. Nothing crazy because it is dark and there's no moon or anything that night. So it was by flashlight and. It's bear country. You got to be careful. You got to watch what you're doing, but it's just nice to get out and do stuff like that. It's cool. Little off the norm.
Yeah, Zach, are you always that active? Because, dude, by that night, I was so sore, dude. My calves and my thunder thighs were ripped. Like, were you in shape before that trip?
Yeah, I mean, I do stuff. I hike and exercise and stuff. I work on my thunder thighs already in advance of that trip. We did like 20 miles that day. So
Wow.
that day we did like 20, and that was good. I was ready to go again the next morning.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
We did.
Zach, looking back at your career, I mean, you went to you actually, I think, went to the same university that you're working at now. Is that true?
I did not. I went to a neighboring, almost a competing university, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. So it's right across the river in Illinois from St. Louis, which is in Missouri. And then this is the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy is where I'm at now. But both have pharmacy programs, both compete. But
Got it. Interesting. All right. Well, now that you're on the other side of the fence, how did you know at that point in time that you wanted to be in computer information systems? Like, what a thing to get into before it was really even a thing. But how did you know that was something that you really wanted to do and would be passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, it probably went back several years when we got our first computer when I was in grade school. I loved playing on it, mostly gaming and figuring out how it works and tinkering and stuff. And then when I got to high school, there were just a couple classes I didn't feel like taking. I was like, this is boring. I don't want to do this. So when talking to the I guess counselors there, they were like, well, you could take this. It was a computer repair, computer troubleshooting course. It's a
Wow.
senior level course. I was a sophomore. They said I could take it, so they put me in there. And being one of the only kids without senioritis who was just kind of throwing off work to get out of school, I just had to do stuff. So I learned how all the components inside a computer worked, how to, patch it, how to do virus scans, how to fix it when it was broken. And I don't know, I just really started liking that and started fixing people's computers on the side all through high school until I got to college, and where I started as a computer engineer and really did not like that because there was a lot of math involved, a lot of chemistry involved for an engineering career. I was like, this isn't going to work. And they told me there's a business degree in computer management. I was like, well, business, that sounds great. That sounds a lot easier. Like, let's do that. So
Get me out of the organic chem. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And so they put me in that, and that was a much better fit than what I really wanted to do. I knew I wanted to graduate and become a systems administrator. That was sort of the first goal in mind, was become a systems administrator and just work on computers and servers and stuff.
That's cool. I still remember dropping off the family computer at the PC repair places, and like, I wonder how those places are doing now. And I guess this will show you how infant I am when it comes to like IT. Like I know enough to be, I guess, dangerous in some of those areas, but not even close to as much as you know as a CIO and Chief Information Security Officer as well. But why were computers needing so much more repair back then than they do today?
I don't necessarily know if it was repair necessarily. I think a lot of the times back then we had smaller hard drives, we had less RAM, so things slowed down more as things continued to progress and got faster and more technology came out and more updates come out. It was just eating up that limited amount of space and RAM, so things would slow down. People thought there were problems. There were probably people like me with tinkering on their parents' computers, and the next thing you know, you're downloading a song on Kazaa or LimeWire or something, and your computer's got a virus. So
Napster,
you got to figure out how to fix that stuff. And I mean, Geek Squad's still out there; they'll still fix your computer for you.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, next question, and then Tyler, you can have Adam. But the difference between a CIO and a CISO, what is the difference, and I guess what is their roles and responsibilities, or the expectations that are on their shoulders?
And Kev, can you add CTO in there too?
Yeah,
So
and CTO, all the C's, all the C's. Yeah.
Chief digital officer. We got some chief AI officers now. We'll throw them all in there. We'll do everything. So CIO. I think for a long time the CIO was sort of your information technology, the head of all of IT essentially. So your help desk, your networking, your maybe your back end systems like databases and things like that. And they were the de facto person. And when security started becoming important, they took on some of that security role too. But as we've seen security become more and more important over the last couple of decades, the CISO role is only, I think the first one was maybe 25 years ago, give or take.
Wow.
They've kind of broken that off and made an entire chief role just dedicated to securing the infrastructure and the data of the company, and more so data now probably than ever. So the CIO, again, is your guy. Digital transformation. You need a new ERP system. We want to do some email address setups, user creation. That's your CIO. He's handling the IT side of the house. The CISO handling the security side, maybe doing some phishing campaigns, email security. Patching could go either way. I'm not going to say who is there, but just more like data, where it goes, who's accessing it, how to do stuff there. You have this. A lot of times the CISO will report into the CIO, that unless you're a very large enterprise, and then it's separated. Reporting structure is a weird topic in the CISO community right now about where they should report and what sort of actual chieftainess that they will have. And then the CTO is more like your chief over development. So if you build applications and products, they're kind of the guy overseeing that, overseeing that development of those applications that you're selling and putting out to market and things like that. That's at least how I interpret all of them.
Seems like a lot of people different working at just like any silos within any organization, and everybody has their own like initiatives and focus. But is it, if these are all individuals, do you guys butt heads often or not at all?
Yeah, and I think that comes back to the reporting structure too, because when you have a CISO reporting into a CIO, they might have very different priorities. And when you're at a larger corporation, they have incentives, and the CIO's incentives might be around uptime. and availability of a system. So they don't want to bring anything down to patch it, and sort of build in that security where the security guy's like, well, I don't have a breach. I want to make sure we're getting the latest patches on our stuff. We need to take down systems and apply those. So they could be conflicting in what they want to do. And then there could be budgetary reasons for that, bonuses assigned to different things that keep people from wanting to do one or the other. So definitely could be some headbutting, but also it's a pretty tight relationship. You've got to work together on that because, again, the CIO's manning the infrastructure and the CISO's securing the infrastructure. So you got to kind of find that middle ground where you can work with and sort of collaborate. I think not only those 2-3 chief roles, but you also have a really close relationship with general counsel because the legal side of things, privacy, regulation, like that's super important from a security aspect. And then and a lot of times your CFO because you need money. And
Yeah.
you can't do these things without money. So you got to be able to pitch to them and have a relationship there where they understand kind of what you're trying to do and the value there. So that's a very tight ecosystem.
That's really cool. Yeah, I loved your point about conflicting KPIs, and follow the money, go back to their bonus and commission structure, and that tends to be their main intention as they enter the day within their role. Is that's what motivates them. But not uncommon within any business, right? Financials to HR to safety, that some of those KPIs overlap and not in a good way. They almost conflict with one another.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
cool. Thanks, Zach, for my 101 course.
Much needed, universal, guys. And Zach, I wanted to touch base real quick on like the burnout thing, and I want to tie hiking into this because guess what just happened to me like 2 weeks ago? It happened to me, Zach. I went to the Buffalo River in Arkansas with Bryce. We hiked 2 days, floated 1 day, and I came back to Dallas, and I felt the magic, dude. If you know what I mean. Like traffic wasn't annoying me. Like it was kind of nice to see people again. Is that the feeling? Is that like the runner's high of the hike? Really? Like, do you ever experience that? Is that why you kind of get out?
I mean that's definitely part of the reason. So burnout in the industry, especially the security industry, is really high. There's been a lot of studies on it, a lot of statistics come out about it. It stays very high year over year. I think there's a combination of stuff there in terms of the age of people sometimes getting into these roles. A lot of times, a very technical person or engineer is taking on a chief role, and they don't really have the business acumen to handle it. So they're being thrown into roles that they're not ready for, and being asked to do things that they're not experienced in, and that puts a lot of stress on people. And we're started seeing fines and sort of charges brought up against some security leaders in the industry for various things. So that when your livelihood, not just your livelihood and your job, but like the fact that you might have to pay money to SEC or experience jail time or something, that like
Wow.
starts to weigh on people as well. So we see a lot of factors coming in on that. We could lament on that a little bit longer if you want later, but I think there's definitely something there. So as a security leader, as a technology leader, I like to really try to separate from the work from time to time. So when I go home, maybe it's turning that phone on do not disturb. I think staying off social media really helps with some of that too, and finding another hobby, another thing you like to do. So maybe that's getting out in the woods and hiking and getting away from technology, getting away from a screen for a few hours and just thinking, letting your mind kind of ease. What's interesting about knowledge workers, which we'll call IT people, security people, just people who typically work in an office space, and maybe physical workers, blue collar workers, whatever you want to call them, is that when a blue collar worker goes home, a laborer, they can disconnect from the job. Like they're not thinking like, oh, I got to make sure I get in and get that outlet wired in the morning, or whatever. Like there's nothing there. But like when you're a knowledge worker, you go home and you're like, oh man, did I send that email? Did I I got to get that form in. I got to do this presentation in the morning. Like it's harder to turn that off because it's so much easier to think about that work, and your mind doesn't really get that time to rest. And I think that really attributes to some of the burnout that we see in that industry.
No, I tell you what the worst thing is, Zach, is being a knowledge worker, being a knowledge person as a labor worker, dude. I was stuck in that boat before, dude. I was, yeah.
Did
It
you
was
feel
like
it?
I was doing like operations, but like as a knowledge-minded worker, living hell, man. And then I finally caught my groove. I would go home worried about the day-to-day as a laborer, in my life. So I think either or can have it, but I totally see it on y'all's end, man, especially from hanging out with y'all for 3 days and just hearing what y'all go through. And it never really ends, right? Your days really, your nights are never really that over.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can be hacked anytime, I guess, and then you're on call. You got to pop back in, and or a system can go down, hardware can fail. Like you never know. You're pretty much on call 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else do you get into besides hiking to kind of get your mind out of this?
Sure. So I kind of live on a what I call a homestead anyway. I raise chickens. We do a lot of gardening, self sustainability. I try to I run solar panels. I collect water from rain. Different things to sort of I'm not gonna call it a prepper, but to prepare for a situation where we need it. Just a couple a week ago, our furnace went out, and we didn't have heat, and it's been like 13 degrees here in St. Louis. So I put in a wood burning stove a couple years back. I have stacks and stacks of wood for days I'm in the woods, so we didn't really notice much of a problem. We fired up the wood burning stove with the fireplace going, like we're burning wood. Like that mindset was, hey, we're going to prep for this. We have a backup plan in case anything goes out. So very much in that mindset of just being able to take care of ourselves, very self-sustainable, and try to teach that to my kids. We're always out. We do a lot of hiking. I like to shoot pool. Big pool shooter, and then I don't know, I read a lot, so just anything to separate. And a lot of the times that those books are tied back to the industry, but it's not sitting in front of the screen and working, so I'll take it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you're doing it right, Zach. Because like when I met you, like some people are just their light bulbs are just on, right? Like you can feel their energy, and that was you, man. I was like, okay, this guy's probably doing pretty well in life, if I had to guess.
I'm glad my light bulb's not off.
Yeah, it's definitely not off, man. Like when I saw your hunger, then I started talking to you just for a brief minute. I think on one of our hikes, I like meeting people like you, man, because it makes other people better and want to get more active. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, I think being hungry and continuing to learn is important. Whether that's about the industry you're in or something else completely different. I get hooked on something and I feel like I got to know everything there is to know about it. And you just like go until you feel like And it doesn't take much to know more than 90% of the population, but I want to know more and be able to speak to it and do things with it. And it's kind of fun when you find that interest.
Definitely. I think that's where the passion really kicks in, and I always need that, like, I don't know, North Star, but to know where to put my focus, and if I don't have something, that's usually when I get myself into trouble. You talked about knowledge workers and the laborers and the difference between those, and then that was really cool to hear, because I've never heard it put that way exactly, but know exactly what you're talking about. But you also mentioned earlier kind of building and establishing that relationship with CFOs, and given what you do, the space that I came from, HR, no different, right? It's how have you found effective ways to communicate with the CFO who isn't entirely knowledgeable about what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the importance of that. What tips or tricks would you give to others in other C-level positions or even management positions that are looking to establish and develop that relationship with the CFO to teach them on something that is not numbers, right? What have you found the most effective strategy to do that, Zach?
Yeah. And we talk about not it being not numbers and teaching them, whether it's IT or security. And it's not always that. I want to take that back a step further and say it is relationship building, but it doesn't have to be about that specific topic, right? So I like to go to the various departments. I visit them every couple of weeks, check in at least once a month, and the CFO more often than not, just go in and talk to her about what's going on. Just be a person, really, like a human, and have a conversation. Like, oh hey, you went on a trip. How was this country you went to? How was that trip? Oh, what is it you and your husband? Oh, you guys like to play board games. Oh, we do blah blah blah. Like, and just have that rapport, and it just builds that we'll call it a work relationship, a work friendship. And you kind of become a person that they can trust and they can talk to. Hey, you want to go out and take a break from the screen and walk around the campus or something? Like get out and just talk about stuff. And I think that's really good, because then when you need to go to an ask, you've sort of built these relationships. There's bonds there, and you can lean on them. Like, hey, we're talking about blah blah blah. I really need this piece of technology that I think can solve X, Y, and Z for you, and also for the campus. Like, oh, what's that going to cost? Well, it'll cost this much. I can pull X amount from my budget, but I'll need to get Y. Is that something we can work on? Oh, yeah, sure. Let's work on that. So when it's someone that they're familiar with, you're way more likely to help your friends in a real life scenario than you are to help a stranger, probably,
Mhm.
right? So you want to build some friendship bonds there so you can make those asks. Deliver on stuff, help them with some low hanging fruit. If they got a problem and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, like knock it out quick, like fix things for them, and they'll want to help you to sort of return that favor. And I think that works for any department, really.
Yeah.
Um, HR, finance, marketing, whatever. Just build those partnerships, and,
Yeah.
and that seems to take care of most of it.
I love your conscious effort though, to your point. Be a human, be yourself first to develop and establish those relationships, to build that trust. I think that's huge. I think we're all so busy with the number of emails and tasks and duties that we're all responsible for. Sometimes we lose sight of what's most important in developing the actual relationships themselves. So I loved how you put that, Zach. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, regardless that I'm in IT or security, I think at the end of the day, and for most roles, everything comes down to what, marketing, sales, negotiation. Those are about the big three. So if you can do those things, and whether you market yourself, whether as a friend, as a colleague, or however, and then you sell the system, that's all very important. It's not about email security or Microsoft this or CrowdStrike that. It's just relationships and talking and
Absolutely.
why we need things. So
Absolutely. That's cool.
Isn't that wild how that just makes the world go round no matter where you are, what you're doing, if you're a salesperson or not, or if you're a CISO or not? It seems like and that's where I kind of learned to really hit my stride in life. Like I called it serving first. Like when I met
mhm.
someone, guys, I would like, I don't even know when it happened, but in my mind, I'm like, how can I help this person quickly and first? And what I get back from that is just real friendships, and it's amazing what has happened from like the serve first kind of model, Zach, in my life, and I
Yeah,
try to tell it to people, but it sounds so underwhelming, right?
it,
It's
it does.
like,
It does.
I'm like, no, man, but I really did this for this guy's kid, and they're like, why? And I'm like, then I show them if you want to call it the ROI, sure. And then they're like, holy crap, that came from doing that for a kid. And I'm like, yeah, man, but it took me like 8 months to do that for that kid,
Yeah.
Uh, but I think any way we can find a way to help outside of our selfish, not in a bad way, but our selfish business line, I think really has gone far for me. So thanks for sharing that, man. And I just had to ask Zach. So I guess the big jump in your career was from network admin to director of IT. Does that sound about right?
I was so I when I came into the higher ed space, I worked at a university where I was a network and systems admin, and then I became a manager of a help desk, and then I left that job with the previous CIO of a company that I knew really well to go to a different university where I was the network admin there. And I took that gig because my first kid was born, and I wanted to be closer to home. So that job was like 5 minutes from my house at the time, and I was able to like be home with the wife and the kid, but also work. And then but I didn't like the role very much. And then another university, reached out and they were like, "We really want you to come here and be run the IT department." And I was like, "That sounds right. So let's do it." So I had some management experience before that for a few years, but the role that I left for did not have any, and then I jumped right back into it to sort of lead the department.
Okay, so when you were like a network admin at St. Charles Community College, was there any vision of you being a CISO when you were there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even before that role. So when I was a network and systems administrator at the St. Louis College of Pharmacy, I remember very early on meeting the CIO. I had to come into his office to do something on his computer, and I was sitting in his chair, and I was like, man, I want to sit in this chair one day. It's just like I just knew like every time I've done something. So like in college, it was I want to be a systems administrator. So then I went through everything, became a systems administrator eventually after graduating, and it was like, well, what's next? I want to do something else. Is it I want to run a team. I want to manage somebody. And okay, I became a manager. And it's like, well, I want to run the whole thing. Like I can do this. Like let's do it. So every time, just keep setting those goalposts and keep moving. it, I don't know. Some people say you should be satisfied with what you have, and you can. There's a philosophy around that, but I also think there's something really to setting goals and achieving stuff. I think humans are very driven by goal setting and achieving things. At least I am. That's one of my motivators is achievement, accomplishment. So I just keep moving that goalpost a little further down and keep going for it. It's fun. It's a fun ride.
So how for
When
the
do you?
kids out there, Zach? Like I try to help out a lot of kids, man. It's hilarious because they all want to be a C-level person, right? And they have no clue what it takes to some stories Kevin and I have heard have been almost horror stories how to get there in like the Fortune 100 companies or whatever. But
Sure.
I guess what did someone see in you, to jump from network admin, a network administrator to director of IT and then to CISO? What do you think it was? Like, was it the hard work? Was it how you treat people? Like, answer it, man. That's what we
Yeah.
always ask.
I would say at least at the beginning it was a lot of hard work. I do work, and this is gonna sound weird. I don't want to sound conceited, like narcissistic in any way, but this is frankly what it is. Like, do a good job, do work,
Yeah.
like just do the work well,
Price, yeah.
right? Like get it done. So I just remember like things that would, jobs that would take a long time or projects that would take a long time and be like, oh, I'll just do it. And then just go and do it. I remember one, we were going to implement something called BitLocker on computers, and we were going to have a firm come in and they were going to build some servers and set it up into our environment. We are going to plug it into the laptops and everything. And they were like quoting, I don't know, like $75,000 for this thing. And I spent like a couple weeks in my free time just building the server myself and setting everything up. And then one day I went into my boss's office. I was like, hey, I built that BitLocker thing. And he was like, you did what? I was like, no, I built it. It works. I tested it. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, man, it worked. And he did it. He was like, oh, holy crap. Like, that's done. I was like, yeah, there's documentation. I just followed it and did it. And you did your normal work too? Yeah, I did the normal. Everything's done. It's all fine.
I think there's something to be
okay. So
something to be said though, Zach, when because I have a similar story myself. I wrote a business plan after being in business development after 9 months, and there's something to be said for the people that take that initiative, of things that they're not even asked to do, but they know that need to get done. And I love what you said, having a goal in front of you. That's when I'm most motivated. I played sports growing up, and I was having a conversation actually just yesterday. Because I said I really suck at celebrating my accomplishments, right? Once I get to the goal, it's like, oh yeah, that was great. Now what's the next one? But really slowing down and actually celebrating when you achieve that pinnacle. And something that he pointed out that I never really thought of though is sports, right? When you're playing good and that's fine, right? You're not really analyzing your behaviors, your actions, but when you play bad, that's when you're really focusing on those items. And my mind is great at saying, hey, you suck at that, and here's all the reasons why. And I leave out all the other, let's say, goal achievement. How have you found it to celebrate some of your success? Celebrate you even finishing and writing a book. Like, how have you found to take the time out to actually pat Zach Lewis on the back and say, Zach, you did a great job, and you did something that you never thought that you could do?
Yeah. And my wife is going to listen to this and laugh because she'll be like, why do I see this, $1,000 charge on the credit card or whatever? And it's like, oh, that's my thank you gift for doing X, Y, Z. Well, what is it? I signed up for another course, or I started the next training. She's like, you're starting something else. Like, can you
again, yeah.
More things? Aren't you doing this blah 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 thing? Oh yeah, I'm doing that too, but I'll be done with that in time for this. Like, we've got to keep that ball rolling. Splurged a little bit on myself, honey. That's kind of what I feel like I'll do like 2 or 3 things that are I don't know, big things like that, like writing a book. I might be taking a course online. I might be doing something else, all like the same time. And then I don't know, they all kind of start getting done, and then I'm like, and then I might take a week or two and not like kick something off immediately. Maybe we just sit around and try to play catch up at home, take a couple days off, hang out with the kids, or we might go on a trip or something like that. But usually the cycle starts again. Hey, this happened. This is great. I'm very excited. We're pumped. Let's go to a fancy dinner. And then the next day, let's start something new. I like to keep going. I told my boss here, like, as long as you keep me engaged and keep me giving me something to go do, then I will stay. Like, not like I was looking to leave, but like I need to be engaged. I need to be doing things.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. I think some people run from challenges and problems, but the three of us, we take those on as opportunities for growth.
Yeah. And Zach,
Yeah.
where'd you learn this from, or how'd this get into your blood, man? It was your mom, dad, grandparents?
That's a great question. I guess, man, I don't know. My parents were, they worked hard. We grew up, things were good. My dad was a blue collar worker, a hard worker. My mom was a knowledge worker in a prison system. So we're tough labor prison workers. We don't mess around. And then my grandparents were hard workers, mostly blue collar. I don't know. I guess sort of that, probably maybe more my mom's side. Goal setting, doing stuff, getting things done, always having sort of the plan. But my dad always had projects he wanted to do around the house. A lot of he knew how to do carpentry and garden and work on machines, and so it was always like there was always a project going on. My wife would call it puttering right now, puttering around the house. Is that why are you always puttering? There's always stuff to do, and there's always projects going on. So, I don't know. It just kind of happened. I've always just been motivated by getting things done. In school, it was getting good grades and being at the top and taking the hardest classes and being the top and being the best. And I don't know, just competition, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, man, and I mean, I guarantee you, your dad having projects around the house was a very instrumental for your brain, man. My dad did not do that. He would like just yell at the lawnmower and like watch me come yell with him,
Yeah.
not much problem solving. But I wanted to ask you, Zach, like, so any like hiring manager I talk to in like the security world, they bring up one word, man. I bet you could almost guess what it is, but it's curiosity, right? If every dang hiring manager in security is like, how curious are they? And I'm like, is there a curious test out here?
Their
Like,
meter.
yeah, but I think going back to the same thing, like the kids that are curious, they show up different to these interviews. I think they've done their homework on the company. And I tell you, man, I've gotten so many kids jobs just from like a previous CTO who had a kid on his team around 80K, but he was curious as hell. You know how fun that text message is to my other CISOs? I'm like, hey, I got a kid. He's around 80K and he's curious as hell. They're like 3 p.m. Wednesday. And they always get the job. Like, granted, the referrals are nice, but
Yeah.
like, how do you judge a resume or someone in the security world on their curiosity, Zach? And this is a very pinpointed question because I need to know, man. I can usually feel it in someone, but is there anything that you ask candidates for, say, to like to kind of poke around at their like the problem solving or curiosity skills?
Yeah, so there's interesting things there. Resumes. Resumes are there to get you past the AI detectors that parse through resumes, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll look at a resume and in the first 10 seconds, maybe less 5 seconds, I will know if I want to move forward with talking to this person or not. Like it's just that fast. You just know. If I even get to that point where I'm looking at resumes. When in a conversation though with a person, I do have a couple questions I usually ask them. Most of the time, the interview is again a conversation. I want to know about them. So just talking. How do they hold themselves? How do they talk about things? Are they you might get nervous in an interview, but like, can you hold a conversation? Can you talk about random topics? It doesn't even have to be work related necessarily. But the question I always ask, one of them I always ask is, explain to me something that you know extremely well. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be related to the job. I need you to know it like the most, the best. You're the SME in this. Anything you want, but explain it to me like I know nothing about it, and you have to do it in 5 minutes. Just
Ooh.
tell me, like, nuts to bolts. What is it? And I've had some wild ones. I've had a guy explain to me Wiccan healing energy and how he uses and I had another guy who was a Pokemon gym trainer for the card game and how that worked. And I mean, from
Wow.
changing a light bulb to making a grilled cheese sandwich, like all kinds of stuff.
That's cool. But
Yeah.
that's that, I guess, with an open-ended question, you get to see their creativity out. It's always like the famed question, sell me this pen with for sales interviews. But it's cool because I would say curiosity goes back to, Zach, something you just said earlier. Once you find a topic, your curiosity takes over and you want to become an expert. And I've said that for a long time. I don't care if the best way to change a roll of toilet paper. There's someone in the world that wants to know the best way to change a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah. Yeah. From
One of the things I wanted to go back to, because we talked about it before we got on, was the personal branding. I think three of us have bid on to that narrative, that the importance of personal branding. And I actually talk about how important it is comparatively to a resume, because now we hear a lot of complaints, and I even get them in a blue collar office. How many resumes are being written by AI? I've had some people like the actual brackets of like blank space left here for that's still in the resume, and it's like, oh, I can tell you actually didn't write this. But anyways, the importance of personal branding, I think, is powerful. One of the things that I don't think enough people talk about is there's a lot of people that follow myself, Tyler, and obviously you too, the man of St. Louis, is that they come up with their own narrative, right? They'll think that you're an expert or believe you to be an expert, and maybe in something that you don't even talk about. And I don't think people talk about this enough, because I found myself in social situations when people would come up and say, oh, Kevin, I read all these things and it's always, oh, great. I started to try to live up to the expectation that they had because of what my personal brand had created. Curious, now that you're public speaking, right? You have a book and you're developing and continue to sharpen your craft on a personal branding perspective. Is that something you ever experienced? Where people, because there's also challengers out there, right? And it's like, well, I know more than Zach on this topic, so I'm going to try to poke holes in his knowledge or his wisdom. Sure. Is that anything that you've ever experienced in your career?
I mean, a little, not anything crazy. Like when I post about stuff, when I do branding, it's usually things that I've dealt with, a lot of stuff from the book, personal stuff that's happened, work things that are going on. So I mean, they are experiences and things that I have lived, right? Recently on LinkedIn, getting in an argument or disagreement with someone on social media, on the internet is practically pointless. But there was a discussion, around, what a role of a CISO was. And I've also had discussions with people about burnout in the industry and why it comes from, and should CISOs sit on boards or not sit on boards. And, it might be, I throw some comments in, and then, you get 5 or 10 haters on there that come back and say, well, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, maybe in that specific instance I could be, but in this specific instance, I'm right. Like, there's such a broad range of stuff, like, at least in this knowledge area of security and IT, of how to do things. And frankly, at the end of the day, you look at stats like, I'm getting a little off topic, but you look at stats like ransomware that increases year over year over year, and we're seeing attacks grow every year. I mean, who's to say who's right or wrong? Clearly, none of us are doing it right, because it's only getting worse. So, like, if you know the secret, like, let's share it. Let's get down to it, right? But I a little bit, I try not to do it though. Like, if you want to, at this point now, when people like come back, if I do a post or do a newsletter, and they're like, well, you didn't think about X, Y, or Z, and this is what's really going on, just give them a like. Thanks for chatting and helping the algorithm push this out to more people. I'm not going to worry about it.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. I have a very stoic mindset about that stuff, and it's like, all right, think whatever you want, man. I don't care. I'm doing this to get my name out here. I don't need to have an argument to justify anything. I know what I know. I'm cool with it.
Correct. Yeah. And I think finding that self is so important. And you talked about it earlier, as you kind of move from an individual contributor level to now a position where you're overseeing individual. Could you imagine going into that not 100% knowing who you are and what you're worth and what your value is, and believing in yourself? I think that's where Tyler and I have pulled out the common thread with all the great leaders that we've had on the show and had the opportunity to talk to. The ones that knew who they were and spent and took time out for themselves traditionally have been the best leaders that we've interviewed. And hearing kind of that same sentiment from you, from what you're doing at home life, from churning your own butter to pulling your own eggs. I mean, it sounds like self-sufficiency is something that carries you forward, but also is your secret weapon in leadership as well.
Yeah. There's a distinction in there between knowing yourself and, like, I guess, loving yourself and thinking you're like the great, like, you can I think you should obviously love yourself and take care of yourself like you would a sick, child or something, like people tend to forego their own health in when it's them that's sick, as opposed to taking care of a child or a loved one or something. So I think you should definitely love yourself. You should know your values, what matters to you, what drives you, and so in that essence, like, really know you and like you, but you don't have to do it like a super narcissistic
Narcissistic,
thing.
yeah, chest pounding way. But I would say those are the people that know themselves the least, right? And because of their self consciousness, right, or is that they project that they're so confident, yet they feel so small inside.
I believe that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the cowboy movies, guys. Like the cowboy that like doesn't say anything for like 2 hours, and he says like 3 words, and you're like, dude, that's the
That's
dude,
what's up.
guys. That guy right there is the guy. If you guys didn't know,
That's
that
right.
dude hadn't said anything for 2 hours, and he just said 3 words, and I'm doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
Don't talk the talk. Just
yeah, man, yeah. But Zach, I wanted to ask you, man, like, what in the heck do kids need to be studying in college right now in cyber? Like, I've been on like 3 boards with colleges, and I've seen three. What do you call them? What's the course setup or whatever? I can't the syllabus, right, or something,
the
right?
syllabus for a class, but like, yeah, their
Yeah,
course load while they're
yeah.
taking the
I
degree
keep seeing
program.
like every time I have like someone like you on, like, Zach. I bring some power with me. It's not just me. Trust me. I talk from like a hiring manager perspective on what I
Yeah.
see with. I've seen over, I don't know, 5,000 interviews. I'm like, hey guys, I might be useful here, but I also bring up some other CISOs and directors of security. But man, it seems like the way this AI world's going, like I almost feel sorry for the kids graduating like right now.
Hmm.
With some other leaders I've talked to, it's almost like a little spooky. But like if you were to build a course syllabus for a college specifically for cyber, I guess where would you go, man? Because like I'm still in discussions with these guys, and if you give me a good answer, I'll sound smart on my next call. But
Yeah.
it just honestly, I guess what I'm trying to say is I've heard over and over what the kids are studying right now might be kind of worthless pretty soon. But like, what if like the ZL College of Brainiac of Cyber comes out? What's your how are you
Yeah.
starting these kids out? What are you giving them?
All right. Well, a few things with that. So I'll start by saying, so I have 3 kids, and they are being homeschooled right now. My wife is homeschooling, and we talk about this a lot. Like, what is the world gonna look like when they enter the job market? Like, we're gonna see jobs come and go, and probably come again. Like, so we're 2, 3 iterations out of jobs that we don't even know are gonna exist, that they're gonna come into, and how do you prepare them for what that's gonna look like? And it's hard to figure out, but there are like some fundamental things, like from a young standpoint, you could do. And I think being a very adaptable, flexible decision making, like, take in a bunch of information. You're kind of a generalist, you know a lot of stuff, and you can pivot. Like, how do you do relationships? Being able to talk to people, having conversations. You have a problem, let me help solve it. Like, general broad things like there, right? If we want to dive a little bit closer into like college students right now, so AI is really interesting because what it's doing is we're seeing a lot of companies fire a lot of entry level workers and or not hire entry level workers, and they're replacing that with AI, which is going to definitely cause a problem when you're trying to promote internally, because now your foundational base of employees does not exist. So then you're going to want people who have more experience to come in and fill these roles, but those people won't be there because they have not gotten jobs to get experience to fill it. Um, if you're and AI is, we had a big swing into AI. I think it's going to recess a little bit and people are going to bring some human workers back, but then AI is going to take another giant leap forward and it's going to keep taking leap forward. So it's going to be hard to justify hiring someone at $50,000, $60,000 when you can get an AI to do it for $300 a year. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be weird, and I don't have a great answer on that. I think for people in cyber and IT right now, a lot of kids want to get into cyber and they think they're gonna pop in and be a pen tester and make $80,000 $90,000 a year out of the gate, and they're gonna be the superhero of the company, and that's just not realistic. A lot of those programs, I sit on several of these advisory boards for universities similar to you and talk to them about it. But like, do you know basic idea? Like, if you can get in as a help desk support person, you should take that and then pivot into cyber from there. Like, you need to get some foundational stuff on how to troubleshoot a problem, how networking might work, how X, Y, or Z in the IT field works, and that can start applying to cyber as you move into that. But those foundational jobs are going to be hard, like data entry, log analysis, um, even looking at like pen testers. I mean, all that stuff's getting automated right now by AI. Those aren't going to be lucrative jobs coming forward in the future.
Mhm.
There's You should probably know how to use AI and how to work with it and tune it. And I'm not going to call it like prompt engineering because that's not really necessarily the thing anymore. But like, all these tools are going to have AI built into them. Everyone's going to be a little bit better with AI. I don't like when people say they're only building AI to partner with you and they're not going to get rid of your job. It's going to help you do better at your job. I mean, they're building AI to get rid of your job, right? Like, that's what these companies are doing. And you need to realize that. Um, and again, I don't think that going and applying to a lot of jobs is going to be how you find it. To what you said earlier about helping the kid find a job in a text and then getting one, it's going to be about your network. You need to network your personal brand. You have to put up stuff. And as a kid, that's hard because you haven't done a lot. But if you can start, reposting articles, maybe giving your feedback on something you read and talking about that, at least posting so that's getting out there, and then befriend people, network with these people. Who are the 10 most successful people you know? Can they introduce you to 10 more people? Like, go to some conferences. You got to build that brand so you can tell people you're looking, and when a job happens, you can be the one that gets picked over the 200 other kids you just graduated with. And it's
Mhm.
going to be that kind of a war of attrition here for a little while the market sort of stabilizes and figures out what's going on, because it's a rough market right now. It's
Yeah.
like really rough for kids. Absolutely. And even experienced people.
Yeah.
I don't have a great answer. That's just a bunch of random thoughts I had
No, but I love what you said about the adaptability, flexibility, like going back towards some of those problem-solving skills, because I think, like you said it, I know when I talk to a lot of the students, whether it's in high school or even talking to graduate level individuals, they want to get immediately into that job that they've envisioned for themselves. But
Yeah.
I loved how you put it, Zach, is sometimes I had to shine shoes in a country club to build my network, to land my first job, to have that first opportunity, because when I entered the job market, every entry level job still required 2 to 3 years experience.
Mhm.
So, and that was 14 years ago now. But I loved how you put it too, is with companies trying, it seems like a nearsighted win, but not a long-term strategy. When you're eliminating those entry-level positions, those are really the opportunity to test the cars, right? To see who has the potential to move up into these other roles. And without that existence within the business, those organizations are going to be paying a lot more on the open market than they would if they were to develop that talent internally. So I loved how you put that, because again, it could be a short financial decision with not a long-term strategy when it comes to people and how that's going to all play out in the years to come.
Yeah. The market and industry is going to move a lot faster than education does. So as the market advances and AI gets used to like the education system, at least higher, it doesn't keep up with what is needed from the market. So as these jobs change, like now we need to start training people and prepping them for what were intermediate jobs before, instead of entry level jobs. And it's going to take a while for that to trickle down to universities to start figuring out how to give that education. And higher ed has its own set of problems right now with kids not wanting to go into college and less
Yeah.
students entering, and that bubble is, I think, maybe not going to bust, but have its air let out slowly, and we're going to see some collapse and consolidation, because you can go online and learn a lot of this stuff
Yeah, exactly.
in no time. So
Yeah. And a lot of universities like Stanford and several others are now doing like free online courses, so the gone are the days where you need to be in a course all 4 years. And frankly, my first 2 years of college, I was retaking a lot of courses I felt like I had already taken in high school all over again.
Yeah.
It's like, here we go again with history.
I took astronomy and geology. Like, what?
Yeah.
I
I know. What am I going to do with that?
Great.
Yeah,
but, like,
exactly.
no application.
Exactly. But I loved how you put that, like that futuristic outlook is things are changing. They're changing fast. You can have an idea, but going in more agnostic, having a broad knowledge base, and not being afraid to showcase that. Because I was one of those kids, you know, and when you got out to network, right? It's like, what do I even talk about? Like, I haven't accomplished anything. So like, what I can't help this person get a sale, or I can't help this person get a job because I don't even have a network yet. So I understand where the timidness comes in, because they're not sure where they add value within that equation. But I think to your earlier point too is just doing it. You know, take that first step, dip that toe in the water, get uncomfortable, and all of a sudden you'll turn into Tyler Way at the next social event. You know, where you can talk to anybody and everybody. But just putting yourself and getting yourself out there is really that first step.
Yeah, it's circling back to curiosity, right? Like, if you're curious enough to ask questions at an event, like, how did you get this role? What do you recommend? Do you have openings? Like, asking curious questions, you can get pretty far and learn a lot.
Absolutely. Everybody loves talking about themselves, and nothing better than asking questions. And
That's right.
yeah,
And
I love that.
And it kind of goes back to your question, Zach, about telling me how to do something, man. Like from end to end. Like, what do you like? If you're not interesting, it's kind of hard to talk to people. You know, just making yourself interesting with whatever you're into. And Zach, I wanted to ask you a question. So I've been doing this with some kids. I just want your quick feedback. Then we'll get right into your book if that's okay.
Yeah,
So I have like my buddy over at the head of cyber over at Kimberly Clark sent me like these 20 chat GPT prompts for like OT, ICS cybersecurity. I'm just going to give you one example. So I'll pick vulnerability management. So create an OT vulnerability management plan. And the prompt is like, design a practical patch and vulnerability management workflow for industry plant that includes OT risk-based prioritization and the now, next, never approach. Now, so a kid, if I give that kid an example of that, he puts that prompt in to understand how to create an OT vulnerability management plan. Do you see any value in what that kid's going to learn from putting in, hey, I want this. You're going to design it like this, like with what ChatGPT spits out. Do you think that's a good learning tool, or am I just wasting these kids' time? Because I have like 20 prompts this guy sent me, and so they can do it for all sorts of things, you name it, right? But is that a decent way, or I want your 2 cents on that?
We're seeing a lot of interesting ways to use like ChatGPT and Gen AI to sort of educate, and as a university, we're figuring that out as well. But I think it's a good if you can prompt it properly to, you ask it a question about this plan and it feeds you some information back, and then you can keep asking questions like, well, why would I do this way instead of, why do I conclude this? Why don't I have this? Why can't we patch on Monday instead of Saturday, like at different times, and it can come back with that information. That's pretty good. It's going to be harder. Most of that information is going to be correct. I would say almost all of it, if not all of it, is correct. It would be hard for a student to validate if it wasn't. So there's a small chance that they could get incorrect information. But at the end of the day, it's probably not, like, because this is such a broad topic. It's probably been trained on so much information. It's probably fine. Outside of ChatGPT and Gen AI for using that, just grab a book and read it. There's plenty of industrial control standard books that teach you how to secure industrial standard, and you can read that. You can pair that with the knowledge that you're getting from ChatGPT and maybe ask more specific and accurate questions and be able to validate that information coming back. So sort of reinforce that information. So in that example, that would be something that would probably work. Or you can go online YouTube and YouTube the video too and watch it and see if that matches up with the data you're getting back.
Something to get the wheels spinning a little bit. That's my whole goal here.
Yeah, it's like an expert. You have an expert without having to go out and talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
but
man,
I love.
Just
to carry on with that is I feel like because this just came up with one of our recent hires out of high school, and he was like, I wrote my whole research project with AI, and the more I thought about that, those projects, the topic really didn't matter, right? The school didn't really care what topic that you picked. It was more the exercise of problem solving, being able to research, being able to find the information. And I think to your earlier point of some of the things that you're like, hey, these are the things that I would definitely call out with students today. Is there an opportunity where they're going to miss that? Where all that information is right at their fingertips and they believe it to be 100% true. Like, are we going to start to deteriorate problem solving and research and some of those other items?
Yeah, I love AI for so many things, and I think you're gonna see it. You see it when you go online now. You can almost read posts online. You're like, I know this was written with AI, and I'm not opposed to that if it's you spitting the ideas into it when you prompt it, right? If you're like, hey, I want to talk about a backup recovery strategy. I want to talk about the 3 methods that we use to back up. We'll call it son, grandfather, grandfather, and this is the method we want to do, and this is why we do it, and here's where it's going to be. Can you put all that into something and it writes it? You provide the idea, it writes it for you in a professional way or however way you want to have it. I don't care. That sounds great. I mean, if you know that concept to be able to do that. So when you see students writing papers, I mean, if you're just like, write me a 1,000-word paper on the Ming Dynasty, you're not going to get anything from that, right? But if you're going back and forth, like, hey, I want to include something about this in here, and I want to bring this in. Okay, write that. Oh, I don't like this part. Let's change this. And you're using it as that thought partner to go back and forth with on and tweak things. And then I would also say probably read it when you're done, like the whole thing, and sort of understand it. Because what they're seeing is people submit these papers, and then the teacher will go ask them a question, and they can't answer it. You don't know anything about it, whether what happens next, what happens in the.
That was literally my question. With it, I was like, what if they asked you a random question? It was like, I wouldn't have been able to answer. It's like, wow, okay.
I think you can definitely use it as a writing partner, but you need to be the one putting the thoughts into it and understanding the context in which you are having it write for you. It's not so different from the days of doing long form math, and then when a calculator came out, like they started using that. It's like, oh, do we trust the calculator? Are we going to lose our math skills? Well, I mean, they just changed. Now we have technology that helps it, and the AI is now a new technology that's going to help us do a lot of things faster and eventually even more accurately. Like I think the accuracy it gets better every iteration that comes out. So we're really getting rid of a lot of those hallucinations and that wrong information. So that's going to get improved in every iteration. So we will shift in where our knowledge is and what kind of work we will do with that. And
cool.
It's just going to take a while. For us
it's almost as if teachers need to change their why, right? To explain to the students as to why doing these tasks on your own without the augmentation of or the sole use of AI and the importance of just their knowledge, and helping with that curiosity. Otherwise, I think you get a lot of just task managers, right? It's like, oh, I have this homework project. I just want to get it done as fast as possible because it's a task.
Show us your prompt. Like, why did you prompt this? And then why did you prompt that? And sussing that information out of the AI. Educators will definitely have to change the way they prescribe quizzes and homework and exams. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Well, Zach, man, let's get into your book, man. We're coming up on the hour right now, dude. You want to kind of just the floor is yours. How'd you start it? How'd you think of it? What's it about? And we'll put the link when we post it out to try to get some of these copies sold for you, man.
No, that's cool. So the book is called Locked Up. It has a very long subtitle. I'm not going to read. I have trouble remembering it, but Locked Up is the short form, is what we call it. And it is a book about a ransomware attack. So while building a security program at the university I was at, we got attacked and had a ransomware incident. So the book kind of details sort of what the environment was before, how we got to the attack, and then everything that happened in between, and then sort of how we remediated at the end. And then I wrap it up with some best practices, some case studies of different places that have been attacked and what worked and what didn't. But I wanted to really describe sort of that process of how everything just lined up just right for an attacker to get in, and then the decisions that had to be made, like, do you pay a ransom, do you not? How do you communicate to the campus? How do you communicate to external stakeholders? Why did we make these decisions when we made them, and who kind of gets to make them? And just everything in between, like with some roadblocks we ran into, hurdles we hit, things you don't think about when you're doing tabletop exercises or reading, books or white papers or whatever. Like, stuff crops up and you got to pivot. So your plans don't always stay firm. And I just wanted to give sort of this roadmap idea for people. I mentioned earlier in the call how ransomware attacks increase every year. Whatever we're doing as an industry isn't working necessarily in terms of security. Like, people keep getting through and places keep getting hacked. So is that a knowledge deficit? Do people just not know what to expect? I don't know. There's not a book like this on the market anywhere, so I wanted to put it out to just try to help people figure it out. Every incident's going to be a little different, but if this gives them a general idea, a general framework of what to expect and how to work it, then awesome. Maybe it'll help.
Cool.
And are you the
Cool.
main character in the book?
It is a real story. I didn't use anyone else's real names just in case they didn't want to, but I'm in there and I talk about the people on the team and different people I worked with through the event. But I mean, this is as real as it gets.
Well, if
Sounds
it
like
gets
he's wearing a cape in that book too.
if it gets,
That sounds like some dicey moments.
Yeah.
dude, Zach, if it gets picked up by Hollywood, what actor is going to play you?
Oh, what actor's gonna play me? Probably Henry Cavill. I mean, naturally. We're both about the same.
What's up, man?
He already likes computers too, so it's like a perfect fit, man.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I know I had a blast with today's conversation, Zach. Thank you for taking me to kindergarten to really understand the landscape and how it's changing and why it's changing and evolving so fast, and also walking away with a few other tidbits myself. But I really appreciated your insights and your wisdom.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. Tyler, always a pleasure.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Nice job, dude.